We're on page 46. So we begin today. It's a new canto, which is a very special canto. In a sense, at least according to me, this canto is not a description of one individual seeker's yoga, which has been so in the first three cantos. It is meant for all of us. It is a kind of a universalization, a widening of the vision in which all of us can participate. It's a truth that has been and is and will be. This is the secret knowledge. It's like the Upanishads, you might say. It contains everything. Only the first line connects it with the previous cantos. Sri Aurobindo usually does that. The first line and the last give it a sense of continuity. On a height he stood that looked towards greater heights. Because the previous canto had finished beautifully, but one man's ambition lifted up the race. That's what was said in the previous canto. Today, there is much more, he says, that is yet to be done. On a height he stood that looked towards greater heights. Our early approaches to the infinite are sunrise splendors on a marvelous verge, while lingers yet unseen the glorious sun. What now we see is a shadow of what must come. The earth's uplook to a remote unknown is a preface only of the epic climb of human soul from its flat earthly state to the discovery of a greater self and the far gleam of an eternal light. So this is the whole journey of consciousness, and it's never over. It's a continuous upward climb towards the eternal, towards the infinite, so why should there be an end? So the first stages that have already been described in the Yoga of Ashwapati, in Book 1, Canto 3, which for us is still something to be achieved. He called them our early approaches. They are the first stages. They are not the stage which describes the soul's release from ignorance. What is usually considered the goal of so many yogas, of moksha, of coming out of the bondage of ego and ignorance. That is the first stage in the yoga of Sri Aurobindo. It is a divinization of the consciousness that has been arrived at by the yogi, bringing down that consciousness on the earth, in the world of body and life and mind. It is a transformating yoga. It is not simply a yoga of self-liberation, of seeking a personal mukti, of removing oneself from the bondage to ignorance. That is required in the beginning. But that's why he says, our early approaches to the infinite are sunrise splendors. The sun has not yet come. It's a dawning. It's a new, you might say, illumination that comes into the consciousness on a marvelous verge, while lingers yet unseen the glorious sun. The sun stands for the supreme, total, complete, divine truth. the truth consciousness, is symbolized by the sun. It is the source of all light, all existence. It depends on that. Nothing can be on earth without the sun. Nothing on earth can be without the divine. So the sun is very often in much of mystical and spiritual literature in India synonymous with the Supreme, as also with the writings of Sri Aurobindo. So the glorious sun, and that is when we can perhaps keep in mind that Savitri, whom we met in Book 1, Canto 2, is a daughter of the sun. Savitra is the sun. Savitri is an emanation, a projection of that Supreme who has come down on earth. So the interplay of the earth and the sun. Life on earth can become an expression of the divine with the grace of the presence that has come down to guide us, to help us. But we have to move. Our part is to want, to climb, to rise. Otherwise, the light is there, the sun is there, we are far below. Yes, we are touched by the light. There is some connection with the truth, but we are not divinized. So they are like sunrise splendors with the verge is the horizon. Beyond the horizon, the sun is there, waiting, the fullness of the realization. So what now we see is a shadow of what must come. Every achievement is small compared to what has to be achieved. The earth's uplook to a remote unknown. Since we have not yet reached, what is that divine? What is that absolute, which unknowingly we are always attracted to? We are attracted to something that is perfect, complete, absolute. Though we have never known perfection. We are attracted to immortality. We dislike death. We have never known what it means to be immortal. We are attracted to freedom and God and light. We don't know these, they are only words for us. Freedom from what? Freedom from darkness, from ego, from failure, from ignorance. To be completely unattached to anything except that supreme consciousness. We don't know these things. And yet, these terms have been there haunting man in his inmost being. That without this, the earthly life is illusory, is pointless, is just something that is so short-lived, it's so finally unsatisfactory. So it stays remote. Perhaps because we don't choose to approach it. We have to move, we have to climb. So the first thing is that when we are dissatisfied with the way we are, then we look up to some higher goal. Somewhere Sri Aurobindo uses the term, the divine discontent. To be discontented with the way we are. Not to be satisfied with what is there on our own level, to improve ourselves, to make ourselves less, you might say, inwardly ugly, impure. That is required, obviously, but that is not the main thing. We have to look towards another level of experience, which always remains behind the veil, because we have not reached that. So that discontent is it's like a goad, it's like a push. But it's a preface. And so the climb upwards is very hard, epic climb. The epic is not just a long, long poem. It's also a poem always of battle. Battle against dark forces. Forces that always try to hinder the human upward journey. Man is a journeyman. Man is a traveler. It's an upward climb. Yoga is an ascending story. But like on a mountain path, it can be very slippery. We fall down. So in the story of the epic, always there are forces that try to drag man down. And it is then that we find that within us, there is the strength, there is the absolute, you might say, determination of overcoming the difficulty. Because there is a difficulty, we find that we have also been given the strength to overcome the difficulty. And that strength is because the divine is present, is within us. So if we read the epics, there is always the presence of a divine being who is there to guide, to help. But we have to turn to him, to call him. So this is an epic climb, and it's a long, slow climb. From its flat, earthly state. Otherwise the human being is without the sense of a higher vision. We live, often it is sometimes necessary to be in a state of a flat state, because as Sri Aurobindo explains it elsewhere, progress, evolution has two different aspects. Sometimes it's a vertical climb, sometimes it's a horizontal climb. A horizontal movement is when something that has been obtained or realized always by the few, the leaders of the race. They are always the few, not the many. The sages, the rishis, even in the Vedic age, they were always a minority, a very small handful of people. The rest were just brutes. But these are the ones that really raised their eyes to the heights. Slowly, that knowledge that they arrive at spreads into the collectivity. So, there is a kind of a slow change in the race. And it is not as high, not as noble in their achievement. The race slowly opens up, becomes a little less unconscious, begins to reach out to goals it never thought existed. It's much slower, but it becomes more broad-based. Then again, there is a push upwards. So he describes it as a kind of an alternation between the upward climb and then there is a flattening. Like in the mountains also, you go climbing and then there are plateaus. So here, it's very, very slow. The earth's uplook to a remote unknown is from its flat earthly state to the discovery of a greater self. The greater self which is Earth's self, which is not just something beyond the earth. Earth can rise up to the heights because the consciousness of the spirit is within the world of matter. That is why from within there is a churning, there is a sense of discomfort. What we are now is insufficient, is often very unpleasant. We have to come out of the state that we are in, because somewhere, well hidden, very well hidden sometimes, the presence of the knowledge of the divine perfection, the truth, the consciousness is already there. This is the involved divine. The divine is involved within us, and he is pushing from below. But the rest often resists. So that's why the journey is very, very, you might say, irregular, goes up and down. So the earth's uplook to a remote unknown is a preface only of the epic climb of human soul from its flat earthly state to the discovery of a greater self and the far gleam of an eternal light. But somewhere this gleam is there. The aspiration moves towards something that draws us. Why that gleam of light is there? Because I am aware of it. Some part in me is aware of it. I cannot be aware of light if inside me there is no light. It's always this. Mother often used the phrase, like responds to like. Something in me has light, that is why I can respond to light. If nothing in me had any light, I would never respond to light. It would remain foreign to my nature. I would not open my eyes to it. So there is in the human the divine presence, and it is this divine presence that pushes the human nature to climb. So the climb is slow and long, and the next line, this world is a beginning and a base. So this is this world which we think is our earthly existence, cut off from the world of heaven. I am on earth, I am a human being, I am not a God. I don't say I am not a God, I am. I am God in the making. If I allow myself to be my real self, then I am God in the making. I have to make myself that. It's only a beginning and a base, where life and mind erect their structured dreams. An unborn power must build reality. So there are two terms, dream, reality. Dream is something that draws you, that fills your mind. When you are asleep, it gives you some kind of an experience. When you wake up in the morning, you know it was not the absolute truth, it was not the absolute reality. Something that passes. But dreams have always helped man to break out of his present state. But they don't have any lasting worth until they become realized. You have to realize your dream. But first you have to have a dream, then you have to realize it. So this world is that where man has been placed on the earth with this very special privilege that he can evolve. He can grow into what he is not yet. He can grow because the possibility of that perfection, the growth towards perfection, is latent. What is latent has to gradually emerge. Where life and mind otherwise are our guides. Life gives us the energy, and mind gives us some kind of an order and explanation and arrangement. And that is what helps man for a long time, that you are a mental being, you have to organize your life, you have so many, you might say, impulsions and desires and capacities and energies, and you put them to use in the right direction so you can have some kind of an orderly life with the help of life and mind. You don't have to remain an inert block of matter. But there is, after a while, the sense of dissatisfaction. This is insufficient. This is not what I wanted. This that I tried to realize with the help of my dream, with the help of my desire, is not at all what I finally want. I have to move on, I have to change, I have to grow. So it's like moving from one stage to the other. The sense of dissatisfaction remains because something in me remains untouched. It's the divine reality. We are embodiments of the divine, but we have focused ourselves so much on the outside, in the world of mind, in the world of life, in the world of action, in the world of outer expression, that we have kept that inner presence pushed into the background like a bird in a cage deep within us. That being has to be brought out into the open. Only then can we truly be ourselves. We are sons of God, but we have forgotten that we are sons of God. We are sons of men, we think. And we are, in our humanity, always we accept our imperfections, we accept our limitations, we accept death as the final goal. Yet in us is the unborn power. Unborn can be interpreted in two ways. One that has not yet manifested, the other that is eternal. The unborn doesn't need to be born, it is always there. It's beyond time. It's the gods. The gods are described as ajata. They are not born. They belong to another level of existence. They're infinite, they're eternal. And the finite man, the finite human being, contains the infinite. And that is the mystery. The infinite lives in the finite, so that the finite can become gradually an expression of that indwelling infinite. And this is the secret knowledge, how to do it, how to become what we truly are. As Mother has this exceptional capacity, she has many, but one of them is to pack an entire yoga in half a sentence, where she says, it's very simple, you have to become what you truly are. That's all. We truly are divine, you have to become it. There is a difference between being and becoming. We have to become our true selves. And life is the opportunity, time is an opportunity given to us to grow in that direction. So here, an unborn power, you have to allow that power to come to the forefront. It will take over. It will be the guide. It will show us the way. You can call, he's there, just waiting to be called up. A death-bound littleness is not all we are. See, it's a very simple, straightforward sentence. We are not mortals. We think this is all that we are. Born on a certain date and dead on a certain date. Yes, because we have accepted to remain that way. If we decide that I am a child of the eternal, I can therefore manifest the eternal, live the eternal. This is the whole purpose of Savitri. Savitri is based on this. The theme is that she has come to challenge the reign of death over the earth. Death has been ruling because we have accepted to be in bondage, in ignorance, in limitation. She has come to break that law. She is different. She has come down from above, from the eternal. She wants to make this earthly life the life divine. This is the central theme of the yoga of Sri Aurobindo. That this earthly life is not different from the divine life. It is something that can be changed into a divine existence. Because a death-bound littleness is not all we are. Immortal, our forgotten vastnesses await discovery in our summit selves. We have forgotten who we are. We are connected with the divine. They are eternal presences, our vastnesses. They have to be discovered. Discovered. They have to take off the lid. In the Upanishad, they speak of the lid. Mind is a vessel of thought which is covered by a shining lid, because mind is an instrument of light. Not of total light, but still light. And it thinks it is the possessor of all knowledge, the intellect. So it shuts our aspiration towards the higher knowledge. So this is it, this is all. No. This lid has to be thrown away. We can endlessly open ourselves. If we become a vessel, then mind becomes a vessel. An empty vessel that is open upwards. It can constantly receive the light from above. It can become not a vessel, but a channel to receive the light from above and transmit it into the world of mind and body, and life and body. So because these are vastnesses within us that respond to the vastness above us. And the intermediary factor is the inspired mind that allows the breath of the Lord that is abroad upon the waters of our being, as he says in that beautiful piece. We open ourselves to that energy. We can receive, and what receives is your higher mind. And it transmits itself into your life and your body. But we have forgotten, we have turned our backs to that truth. They are waiting to be allowed to come to the forefront. Immortal, our forgotten vastnesses await discovery in our summit selves. Our highest part of the being is our highest mind. Unmeasured breadths and depths of being are ours. There we see that on the heights and in the depths, because it is from the push, the urge comes from the earth life. Because in the earth life, in the what may be described as the most unconscious aspect of matter, the presence and the energy of evolutionary growth is working. So that power is within us, in our body, in our life, in our mind. We can keep on growing, opening ourselves. We can be, and that is why the emphasis is on, as Mother says, you don't have to do anything, you just have to remain receptive. The whole being has to be opened and allow the force. It is being poured down on us. But we are blocked. If we could just be without ego, that is the one basic condition. Without, you might say, doubt. In the mind there is a huge doubt and disbelief. That is part of the ego of the mind. In the life there is weakness, there is tiredness, there is desire, there is also the vital. The body prefers often to sink back into inertia. So these are the things that we have to work on and remove, and then we can become simply an empty channel for the force that is coming down from above and the response from below. So unmeasured breadths and depths of being are ours. So it's such a beautiful thing to be a human being. It's only in man that this change is possible. Man is an intermediary being between the lower creation and the highest creation. The gods don't change because they are already embodiments and emanations of the divine. The lower forces don't feel the need to change. They are made of the stuff of resistance and of ignorance. It is in man that all possibilities are there, from the lowest to the highest. It is for us to decide what to keep and what to throw away, and what to bring up to the forefront. Make that our guide. Akin to the ineffable secrecy, mystic, eternal in unrealized time, neighbors of heaven are nature's altitudes. Get the image of nature's altitudes. Physically, you might say the mountains. What a tremendous aspiration there must have been in the earth to send these mountains. They go straight upwards. They don't meander, they don't hesitate, they don't think. All they want is to touch the sky. Whether they do or not, they feel the need to break the barrier of mind. Sky is mind, and go beyond. So in us, that possibility is there. Man is a being of nature. Man is a being of the heights at the same time. So the aspiration of the earth is often, you might say, the metaphor is a mountain. It climbs up unhesitatingly upwards. So akin is similar to that secrecy, the hidden divine presence, which is far beyond. That same secrecy is in the world of nature, of which man is the representative. In man, that presence is there. Just as the mountain does not think, does not doubt, so it climbs up. Man, on the contrary, thinks too much and says, it's too difficult. I don't think I can climb so high. But if he could, even for a while, accept that he doesn't have to stay the way he is, then he can climb. So then he is one of the embodiments of nature's altitudes. So there is always this also, that there are among men some who are in the front of the immemorial quest, some who are above the others, some who don't doubt, whose aspiration goes upwards. You have so many beautiful prayers of the Mother where she speaks for the earth. And she's not speaking always for herself, she's speaking for the earth. And that the aspiration climbs up like a flame. The flame that is burning on the soil. A fire is lit and it burns on the soil. It climbs up towards heaven. We are born on the soil, we can climb up towards heaven. It's not that we have to be born on the heights. We are born down below, on the earth. The earth is the field from where all experiences of growth and change begin, because the possibility of that growth is hidden below the earth. Therefore, it is a very secret truth. It's like a circle. It's a vertical circle. What is high is below. Mystic, hidden, secret, not yet manifested, but will someday manifest. Neighbors of heaven are nature's altitudes. So nature and heaven are not opposites. Usually we say this is earth and that is heaven. This is man, that is God. No, not necessary. There are beings who are very close to the gods. And among them, the ancient, you might say, rishis had visions of great sages who used to travel freely between the world of light and the world of men. They used to travel, they were like moving freely, these demigods, human beings, but they were like demigods. Nothing hindered their journey. They used to go up and visit the gods, then come down and live their life on earth. And this is part of so many early, in the Puranas, in the stories, you have the image of kings. In their stories, kings mean those who are ahead of the rest. A king is not just because he's the son of a king. A king is one who is above the rest. And therefore he could climb up and come down. And these are beings of nature to whom the heavens are not alien, are not foreign. To these high-peaked dominions are kingdoms, to these high-peaked dominions sealed to our search. Today we are primarily mental beings. Mind searches, needs verification, first of all, needs to have a certitude, yes, it is possible, then I will try. If we move in that way, we shall never find that. We need, on the other side, we need faith. A blind, absolute trust, and not searching with the help of a mental instrument. To these high-peaked dominions, sealed to our search, too far from surface nature's postal routes. Calls it a postal route. You send one message from one point to the next point, see if it reaches that point, then we shall go further. And this is how the mind goes, step by step, always making sure that one step has been really well taken, and then we shall move on. Supposing we are capable only of 1 or 2 steps and we can't go beyond, better not jump into the unknown, to jump into the absolute highest level. Go a little at a time. Whereas if you read Mother's short play of Ascent to the Truth, there are 2 seekers who jump into the unknown. They reach the higher point, and when they ask, now what? Where do we go? We don't know. Just jumping into the unknown, that is to say, complete surrender, complete faith, and they go into the new world. That is her playlet, where only the seekers, the 2 seekers, reach the supramental plane by losing themselves, their own attachment to them, because it is our fear, our lack of faith, our mind which doubts, all these things hold us back. But if we can get rid of these things and put ourselves wholly into the hands of the Divine, and for us it is relatively simpler. The Divine for us is not an abstract word. At least I don't look at it as an abstract word. For me it's Mother, for me it's Sri Aurobindo. So there is a being, there is a presence. It's just put yourself on her, you put your head on her lap, and that's it. You don't need to do anything. She will take you forward. She will do whatever she thinks is best for you. You don't question, you don't doubt. Otherwise, our mind searches, doubts, hesitates. Therefore, too far from surface nature's postal routes, deep in us. Too lofty for our mortal lives to breathe. That air, deep in us, a forgotten kinship points. We have forgotten. We are kin. We belong to the same family. We are children of immortality. Amritasya putraha, it is said. But we have forgotten. We think we are mortals. And we are. We have forgotten that we are the children of the Divine. But it is there. That presence is there. So this whole canto will show us the one most important aspect of the secret knowledge is to go deep within. Turn within. The more we turn within, the more we find the presence. The more we move out of this surface consciousness, which is our usual daily existence, around which we have built our daily existence, our body, our life, our mind. It is our normal house. But deep within us, there is a kinship, there is a relationship. We are part of the same family. A forgotten kinship points. And a faint voice of ecstasy and prayer calls to those lucent, lost immensities. We relate to that with the voice of prayer. Because when I pray, what prays genuinely in me is that inner divine psychic presence. So the prayer is made by the divine, the presence of the divine that is hidden behind us in the psychic. And what do I pray to is the divine beyond. So what is beyond is approached by what is within. And so we realize that I can relate to the divine because I have the power of prayer. And if it is not, sometimes we mistake a desire to be a prayer. We have to be very careful. A prayer is not a desire. A prayer rises up from deep within, from that part in us that is where the divine soul or the psychic is lodged. And it is this that calls to the divine above, beyond. And that's why all sincere prayers are answered, as Mother has said. But it has to be a prayer. It is to say, not what I want, what you want. So make me your instrument or your child. I've forgotten that I'm your child. I thought I belonged to myself. I don't. I belong to you. I'm yours. Then that realization comes that I'm related to you. Why then should I be afraid? That is what gives me infinite joy, freedom from fear. Ecstasy is not only joy, it's a form almost of madness. I'm swept away. I'm completely swept away by that sense of not being trapped in my little ego. And that is what calls to those lucent, lost immensities. Which is not so often done, of course. Even when we fail to look into our souls, which is quite odd. It is because it is the soul that prays, but we don't even know where it is often. We have lost connection with that inner part of our being. It's like the old Indian houses, There were the outer courtyard and the inner courtyard and the Andar Mahal, as they used to say. Deep inside us, that inner chamber is there. And in that chamber is the ruler of the house, the divine. But we usually forget. We forget to look within. Even when we fail to look within our souls, which is common, into our souls, or lie embedded in earthly consciousness, still have we paths that grow towards the light. You see the infinite grace. She's working even when we don't call. She is there. The grace is there. The guidance is there. And there are always forces. They never leave us. We have turned our backs to the light. The light is always there. If we allow ourselves to be even a little open, keep the half a window a little open, we are flooded by that grace. The grace never leaves us. We don't realize how fortunate we are to be born as human beings. Mother had once said the gods often envy the human being because each god has his role allotted to him and he can't change from that stage. If he wants to, she said he has to give up his divinity in a way and says, I would like to be born on earth. Because there, the journey of consciousness is indefinite almost. It's not stopped. Because otherwise each God is a symbol of one particular form of perfection. And he's that. But he doesn't know the rest. Man can know everything, if he chooses to, of course. Okay.